The RPG After Years is part of the We Can Make This Work Probably network. Find out more at probablywork.com.
Welcome to the RPG After Years, your weekly show covering all things RPGs from the past, present, and future. I'm Jay.
And I'm Scott.
And with us today is someone that I think needs not no introduction.
It is I, Bill.
This is episode 38, and Eep, we all made huge scheduling sacrifices, absolutely massive sacrifices, to ensure Bill could be here. And why? Because today we are beginning our review of the 1997 PS1 cult classic Wild Arms.
Just listen to that forever.
So beautiful.
The only reason
now,
people
guys,
think Wild Arms music is good.
It's the Western that you don't feel anywhere else.
Right.
So since this is a review, we will not be doing any catch up or anything like that, like the normal catch up we do. Today we are going to be covering development history and the story of the game. We will cover gameplay and the final ratings in part 2. But before that, we're going to make a catch-up exception here. So, Bill, how the HE double hockey sticks are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right.
That's it.
Next.
You haven't been doing anything with your life? How's your kids? Didn't you go to a nature park or something recently?
Oh, you mean the rare goat breed farm?
The United Kingdom, the United Animal Kingdom.
We did go pumpkin shopping. I say shopping, picking at the weekend. That was quite nice. Picked out some giant pumpkins to carve up for Halloween. So
the pumpkins different. I wonder if the pumpkins are different over there. They're just made of something a little bit different.
They're a little
bigger,
fancier.
Area.
Ew.
No, definitely not. Me and my wife walked in and was just like, oh my God, this is like the worst possible place for social distancing. Apart from the fact it's outside, they made zero effort.
Oh, great.
So we were like, right, masks on, let's pick stuff quick and get out.
I just ran into the store and grabbed 3 pumpkins really fast and ran out.
COVID pumpkins. Can you imagine?
Well, it's strange because some places you go to and they've really made an effort and it's actually better than it used to be before COVID. Like I said, like you guys joked about, we went to a rare goat breed farm, which basically has like 6 different types of goats. Like, it's great for the girls. They absolutely love it. But beforehand, it used to be really busy. And now you have to book a slot and you get to walk around by yourself. And it's so much nicer because you don't get to like one of the goats and like it's just got piles of food in front of it and it's not interested in your food and just like, yeah. So yeah, some things are better, but pumpkin picking is not.
Yeah, I'm
Noted.
afraid.
It's
I
a
think I'm going to
scary
go
world,
vote tomorrow or maybe the next day, and I'm kind of afraid of how that's going to go. So,
Oh, can't you postal vote?
not in Tennessee, unfortunately. So, and,
Can you carry a gun with you? That will.
Yeah, I
that
might
allowed in
need one.
Tennessee?
I might need one. Jay, did you want to talk about your rower?
Oh yeah.
I bought a rower to get my fitness on. Used it today for the first time. It's very nice.
How was it?
It was good. Good quality rower. It was a rower that I've used several times in my past. Not the exact rower because this is brand new, of course. But yeah, just flexing on everybody on me buying all this expensive stuff.
There you go.
Gaming PC, rower.
Speaking of the gaming PC, how's it going? What games have you been pushing it with?
Well, pushing it is kind of pushing it, but I probably the most difficult thing I've played on it is Outer Worlds. I have that.
Oh.
I can play that all maxed out, so that's pretty nice.
I had that suggested to me. Is it any good?
So far, I mean it. I would not go begging people to play it. It's not that good. It's not like I want to play it all and then absolutely get a review. But if you liked Fallout New Vegas, I think you'll like this game.
Ooh, I love New Vegas. So, what about Final Fantasy 14?
I've
been playing that.
I've been playing a lot of 14. It does not push my computer at all whatsoever. Even while I'm like, because usually what I'll do is play it, and half the time I'm just doing like, I can just turn my mind off and go to the next objective, and so I'm like usually watching TV on my other monitor or something like that.
Yeah, because I've been using my Vita to play it on remote play, and my PlayStation is in the room above, and I can normally hear it from down here.
That's awesome.
It's just like going.
Oh yeah.
So
It sounds like a jet engine going off.
So yeah, I am like almost level 30. Just joined a grand company.
Oh, wow.
But I have been playing a little bit of 13 as well on it. Stopped doing that because of 14, and I've been doing quite a bit of coding on it too, just because I don't know, it's fun.
All right. Well, this ain't a video game catch up. Just wanted to see how Bill was doing.
Yeah,
Bill,
I'm still alive.
Bill kicked it over to my corner, so thank you, Scott.
So I love gaming PCs. I used to build PCs like 10 years ago, and so it's just like
right here,
it's there for me. Oh, look at that sexy piece!
Look how, for the people who are listening.
Erect.
Oh, yeah, it gets me a bit of a stiff. But yeah, I've been doing all right. Like I said, been playing Final Fantasy 14. That's about it.
Good. I'm glad nothing's going wrong, at least, I guess.
I have played a bit of Neir.
You cheater.
Don't tell Rich.
I won't. I'll keep it secret. Keep it safe.
All right. So, impromptu tea time over, time capped. Before we get to the review, though, we need to talk about the save state of the podcast. All right, guys. The RPG After Years has a pretty dreamy Patreon for all people who want to be patronized. So, Bill, why don't you tell us about it?
Bill's technically a patron, so
I am a patron. Yeah, I was going to say I am there at the $5 tier, so I get most of this stuff.
If you want to pay us to edit our videos, that's a tier.
there you go.
So yeah, you can get with the Patreon, you can get early access to episodes. Normally I manage to get them edited and out on a Tuesday, but Wednesday by the latest. They are ad-free versions. So if you are sick of hearing me at the moment talk about Spotify, it used to be Rich. It's a good way of avoiding that. You also get Aftercast, which is where the guys get to let their hair down. And I don't know if I absolutely loved the most recent one where you guys talked about Harry Potter.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, I thought that was an absolute banging episode. I
Not
think
to
that's
pat
one of the
ourselves on
best.
the back or anything, but
No, but honestly, that's one of the best golden years and after years shows ever, as far as I'm concerned. That's like top 10.
we went off.
Such a good episode.
So honored.
I really enjoyed it. Like I was so infused listening to it. It was great. Yeah, well, I say extra reviews. Mostly Scott does extra reviews.
Yeah, Scott and Corey.
And most. Yeah, if it's got Mario or a giant monkey in it, he's on it. And and then also you can join in with, like today, the RPG Club nominations and voting. and lots more. So come and join us over on the Patreon at patreon.com/RPG Afteryears.
So one thing you might notice if you are keeping up with us at all on Twitter or the social medias, we have been streaming to Twitch. So usually we go live on Sundays around 9 a.m. Eastern time. There are, of course, exceptions, like today being an exception, where we are recording in an evening to accommodate all of the schedules. However, normally Sundays, 9 a.m. Eastern time, watch us stream live, have some fun.
See our sexy faces. And speaking of the RPG Club that was mentioned moments ago, so if you don't know, the RPG Club is a segment that we do. Basically, we just play along with the community. It's basically just like a book club, but for RPGs. And so the voting has concluded on that, and the game that was selected by the patrons and hosts was Neir Automata. Is it Automata or Automata? Is there
Neir Automata.
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 So this is actually a really weird game to break down into RPG Club segments, and I about killed myself trying to consult different people and Googling a lot about the game, and it was kind of hellacious to figure out. But at the end of the day, the game does have missions, and so even the story things are broken up into missions. And I think what we have settled on is to try and beat the Flooded City Recon mission. So once you get to that, go ahead and stop, and we will be beginning to play on the 25th, depending on when you hear this. So don't start before then, but that's what's going to happen.
So, all right. With all of that out of the way, we're going to take a quick break before we move on to the review.
Are you a fan of high fantasy epic book series that are converted into television series? No, not that one. I mean an epic book series that is actually complete. I'm referring to The Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan's fantasy masterpiece that was completed posthumously by Brandon Sanderson. Well, I have the perfect podcast for you. The Taviren is a Wheel of Time podcast where three gentlemen go through the series one chapter at a time, in their own special way. Follow along as Bill, Rob, and Rich re-experience this great epic. Experience for yourself a world full of vibrant locations, colorful characters, and storylines that will never fail to surprise. Visit a world that Game of Thrones can only wish was as fleshed out and complete. The Taviren, a Wheel of Time podcast, is part of the We Can Make This Work Probably network of podcasts. Find our podcast wherever you get your podcast feed, or visit probablywork.com for episodes of this podcast and other great shows. We will see you at the Wine Spring Inn.
All righty, let's get on to the review. It's the 1997 PS1 cult classic Wild Arms.
I have to ask, Jay, were you flapping your arms because you recognized that as the airship music?
I flapped my arms because of the name of the song.
Oh, okay. There you go.
The bird which flies in the sky.
The song names in this game are great.
The bird which flies in the sky. I don't understand because don't most birds fly in the sky? So I guess there are some flightless.
Penguins.
There you go.
So check yourself before you wreck yourself.
All right.
Yeah. Also, this was a metal bird, don't forget. It's got permanent Megadeth coming out of it all the time.
Maybe it's a capital B Bird, not bird, but bird.
Bird.
There you go.
All right. So, like we always do with reviews, we like to talk about the things that were popular during the release time in the different regions for these games. So, Wild Arms was released in Japan on December 20th, 1996. And that is 8,705 days ago.
Mother of Christ.
23 years ago, 23 years, 10 months, and 0 days ago. So this game is almost as old as me.
I was about to say, how old were you? You were like 2, right? Maybe.
So at this point, I was almost 2. I would be 2 in about 1 month and 5 days.
Gotcha.
Very
interesting.
Yes.
Oh, December 96. What would I have been? I would have been 11.
So you're so old. In North America, it was released on April 30th, 1997. So that's 8,574 days ago, or 22 years, 5 months, and 7 days. Not as bad. And then Europe, for some reason, got the short stick. It was released October of 98. 8,055 days ago, or 22 years, question mark months, question mark days, because Scott couldn't get this one.
No, the release date was literally listed as October 1998, so I guess it's unknown what day it came out on.
Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
Yeah, Europe used to get
Halloween
the shaft
mystery.
back in those days all the time, as far as like release delays, or sometimes not even getting games at all. So
Yeah. It's like, well, we got them in Japan and then North America, and it's like nobody else has money. Well,
all right,
everyone's still recovering from the world wars.
So we always
it's a joke. Everything just took ages to come out in Power Regions.
Yeah,
But
now you
also,
guys
it's good
get
to note as
better-
well. Our Wild Arms was.
Someone to speak.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it was good to note. good to note as well that Wild Arms is generally considered to be the first RPG on the PlayStation. And I think, as far as North American releases go, only Beyond the Beyond and a game called Temco Deception was released before it. But who plays those?
I think
Never
that
heard
might
of it.
actually be in the history somewhere down there. So,
Oh,
but
sorry.
yeah, it predates even like the likes of like Final Fantasy VII and stuff. So, I was kind of once I
Not for
realized
me.
like
It
exactly
came out
how
after Final
old,
Fantasy VII.
yeah, how old the game was. I was like, oh, that's why everything's kind of shitty. But yeah, one
Hey.
thing we always do on the
Hey,
show is we go over like what was the top music and movie at the time of release. So in the U.S., the Billboard #1 song was "Can't Nobody Hold Me Down" by Puff Daddy featuring Mace.
Silks over still V-neck. Got green, never seen. So you suck my jewels, clutch my ooze. Anything I touch, I bruise. Puff niggas on lord, we ain't stuck with rules. Good fellas, you know you can't touch us, dude. Don't push us, cause we're close to the edge. We're trying.
I don't think I've ever heard this, to be honest.
You've never seen Happy Feet? Don't push me because I am close to the edge.
But isn't it just like the baby penguin?
Yes.
That sings
So
that.
good.
But,
It's so good.
I had to look for an edited version
Also, I
because
just
there's a bunch of
remembered
N-words
it's
in
from
there too.
The 90s.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what was going on in the UK, Bill?
Well, I believe we had a lovely little ditty from Cher, if I remember rightly. I know we couldn't get down an exact date, but the possibilities was either Believe by Cher, Roller Coaster by Bewitched, Girlfriend by Billy, or Gin and Tonic by Space Dust. Now, I don't remember the Gin and Tonic one, and I really wanted Scott to pick the Bewitched song, but he went for Cher.
I feel like that was the biggest one at the time. So here we go.
Takes time to believe it, but after all is said and done, you're gonna be the lonely one. Oh, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough. No, do you believe?
That could be like Cecilia's theme, since her whole thing is like learning to love again.
Music was so good back then.
Wait,
Bill, do you
didn't
not
Jay
like
say
this
he
song?
was going to cut his hair off? No, I like this song. I just think Bewitched would have been hilarious.
Okay. I was to say, that's
That
a damn
song was-
classic.
Oh yeah. That's like a sing your heart out song. But the Bewitched one would have been just a little bit of ridiculousness that I absolutely love.
I need to actually go listen to that after this. So as
Sorry.
far as the movies, when Wild Arms came out in the U.S., it was Breakdown, starring Kurt Russell, J.T. Walsh, and Kathleen Quinlan. I'm not sure I've heard of this movie. Have either of you?
No.
No.
Well, not much to say about
One of
it
those classic number ones.
then. Yeah. What about the UK, Billiam?
Well, again, like we say, because for the UK dates, we can actually find, a specific date. So just for that particular month, we had 3 absolute cracking films. Something About Mary, The Truman Show, and Small Soldiers.
I like how I didn't
Boom,
recognize
show.
the US box office, but then for the UK, it's like, 3 like classics that everybody knows. Well, Small Soldiers isn't really a classic, but
Amen.
Small Soldiers is a cult classic.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I remember
remember
that
it.
as well.
I watched that movie back to back for like 4 years straight. I loved that movie growing up.
I'm pretty sure I
Yeah, that was
saw
one
it.
of those films that used to always come on TV over here. So I used to watch it loads.
I don't think I've seen it since it came out, but I'm pretty sure I saw it for the first time in like a drive-in movie theater. So very
It's like
vivid
such a-
memories.
Yeah, cool.
Such a terrible movie looking back. Like I'm sure the quality sucks, but man, I loved it.
Right. Jumping backwards just
Yeah,
a little bit here, I forgot to say on the U.S. Billboard #1, it was very close to a song I do know and love, which is "Hypnotized" by the Notorious B.I.G. I was very sad that it missed it by like a few days, but oh well.
Well, one of the things I normally do, Scott, I just pick the North American date and then I just do whatever was the same in the UK for the North American date.
Oh really?
And the one, yeah, and like, I can't remember what it was. The one for the UK one was an absolutely awful song. But the one like 2 days before it was one of my favorite songs ever, which is Song 2 by Blur. It's just like, why didn't you come out
yeah.
a week earlier?
I know that song. Okay, well, should we jump into history then?
Let's do it.
Oui, madame.
So, Wild Arms, as we all know, is a role-playing video game developed by Japanese company MediaVision. And later it was translated and released by Sony. It features a blend of fantasy and Western settings, mostly fantasy. Scott objects to this
Yeah.
quite strongly.
There's like barely
And
any
it does
Western
blend 2D. Yeah, there's a hat.
elements. Yeah.
That's what we need.
It does blend
What's
2D and 3D graphics, which we'll talk about more going on because I did not like this. But yeah, kind of revolutionary for its time.
Real quick, while I was researching this, I saw that it was made by MediaVision, and I was like, I've never heard of them before, I don't think. But Corey and I, spoiler alert, just beat Valkyria Chronicles 4 a few days ago, and their logo popped up in the credits, and I was like, what the fuck?
I'm pretty sure they also, their probably most recent stuff is the Valkyria stuff and the Digimon story Cyber Sleuth.
Oh, a true classic.
Yes.
Taking place in the fantasy world of Filgaia, Wild Arms follows the adventures of a band of miscreants and adventurers called Dream Chasers, who scour the world in search of excitement and fortune. The player assumes control of a young boy named Rudy, who has the ability to use powerful weapons called arms, which I did not know this, apparently stands for Ancient Relic Machines. They are forbidden remnants of a lost age that resemble firearms. Along with its companions, Jack and Cecilia, the group must use their respective skills to navigate through the vast wastelands and dungeons of Filgaia and prevent an otherworldly threat from reviving their lost leader and destroying the world. I don't think like it was ever particularly clear to me what a Dream Chaser was.
I also don't think, when did they ever tell you what ARMS stood for?
I'm not sure they did.
They did. But I'll get into that with the story.
Yeah. So apparently Dream Chaser is actually like a mistranslation of Drifter. So it just means Drifter. I think in the later Wild Arms games,
Yeah,
they
it's
do
basically
actually,
just an adventure, isn't it?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it says you're an adventurer, but they called it a dream chaser. It's a
Right.
cool chase for dreams, boy. You don't want to be in this silly little village.
Embrace your
Anyway, you
dreams.
guys stole all my nice facts about MediaVision, so thanks for that. So MediaVision was founded in 1993 by several members of Telnet Japan, who had left the Riot division after having worked on the RPG series Tenshi or Ulta for the NEC PC engine. They had released the run and gun style shooter Rapid Reload for the PlayStation a year before Wild Arms. So they only had like a couple of games under their belt, which was like another one called Crime Crackers. And then, they went on to release all the Wild Arms games. And then there was like a Dragon Ball game and then a lot of the Valkyria Chronicles, as well as some iOS games called Chaos Rings and Digimon Cyber Sleuth.
Man, I love Valkyria Chronicles, so they come a long way since Wild Arms. But those other games that came out before, they sound like real gems.
Yeah, there was a Wizard of Oz Beyond the Yellow Brick Road. That sounds like a great one. That's for the DS. If anyone wants it.
Yes. Tell us about it.
Jay's all over it.
So Wild Arms first appeared as a video demo on the promotional place. Is that a typo?
That's supposed to say PlayStation.
PlayStation. I second guessed it because I was like, well, that could be an event. The play stopping. Come on.
Yeah, it was for a Swedish game magazine.
Yeah, right. So it was a promotional on the PlayStation Jam Pack Volume 1 in January of 1997. Due to the short time frame allotted between the game's completion and North American release, Sony America assigned 7 people to work on the translation, nearly twice as many as their previous RPG releases, like Beyond the Beyond. The English version changed some names, such as Geppetto becoming Zephet and Siegfried becoming Siegfried, and Berserk to Balsac or Belsac. But I wonder if that, having twice the amount of people crunching on this is also why, like, it's not very easy to follow things.
Yeah, we'll get into it, but I think the story might actually be decent, and it's just the translation is terrible. But we'll talk about that. I was curious, so I looked up what other games were on that PlayStation Jam Pack demo disc. It wasn't anything notable, really.
Jam Pack Party.
Yeah, it wasn't jam packed much at all.
Ain't no party like a jam packed party.
Despite its release being somewhat overshadowed by Final Fantasy VII, Wild Arms was a critical and commercial success. The American branch of Sony had only recently lifted their ban on allowing RPGs to be released in the West, and there were very few RPGs available on PlayStation at the time, giving Wild Arms a market advantage. The 3D graphics and battles were praised. Everything in that paragraph is like, what?
I know.
Well, no, because this is what I remember from the time. Like, I just remember there just being Final Fantasy VII, Elandra, and Wild Arms. That was basically what you used to walk into a shop, and those were the RPGs on the shelf for the PlayStation.
I wonder why they would have
flooding.
a ban, though. Maybe they wanted to make sure they appealed to Americans in particular.
The world was weird.
No,
the world was weird back then, Scott. Yeah. I mean, it's weird now, but in a different way.
Right.
They just didn't think RPGs sold over here. In comparison to the Japanese market, they didn't. But yeah, they just didn't think they would sell over here. It's much like when Square used to think that we couldn't handle RPGs, so they used to make easy type versions for us.
I guess that makes sense.
The Final Fantasy IV that was released over here is way easier than the one in Japan. Which is crazy. If you've ever been to the moon.
The Americas are just flooded with weebs and RPG lovers.
Yes. So in November 2003, we're skipping to the future here, guys. An enhanced remake titled Wild Arms Altered Code F was released for the PlayStation 2 in Japan, and then another 2 years later, it was released in North America in 2005. And this game was completely rebuilt from the ground up. It features entirely new 3D environments, new playable characters such as Calamity Jane, McDullen, Emma, Muriel, Bartholomew, and Zed. It also allows you to switch your party members mid-battle, aka FF10 style. And the encounter system, which was present in the later Wild Arms games, was also reintroduced. So it allowed players to skip random battles. So, Saitan.
I did some research. I actually asked
skipping random battles.
Some people on this, and apparently the way it works is if you do a battle, you get like one charge, and you use a charge to skip a battle if you want. So it's like you do one battle, then you can skip the next if you want. I don't know how many charges you can keep at once, but sounds like a neat idea.
That's pretty cool though, especially if you're hurting and you're balls deep in a dungeon.
Right.
Having a few charges to skip some battles is very helpful. All the dungeons were, speaking of dungeons, they had all completely different puzzles and layouts. And in addition, there was numerous FMVs that were added at key points of the story and for the Guardian summons.
Yep.
So yeah, completely rebuilt the game.
I actually watched a few minutes of footage for this because I was curious. It does look quite a bit better. The overworld still looks pretty shitty to me. I think the sprites actually look better than what they did for the 3D overworld. But
yeah, I can't say. Yeah, I can say as Wild Arm goes on, I kind of prefer the original look of the games. But yeah, it's interesting you could play as Zed because I kind of really like the way his story sort of wrapped up in the end. But yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like this is like being a glutton for punishment, but I wouldn't mind checking this game out one day far down the road.
Don't do it, Scott. Don't do it yourself.
So Wild Arms has been re-released digitally on the PSP, PS3, Vita, and even the PlayStation Classic, which I had actually forgotten about until I read that. And I guess it was a successful series because there's like 5 of them, right? There's like Wild Arms 5 was the last one.
I think they made 7 games in all, isn't there? If you include
really?
Alter F and there's another one like, is it Wild Arms Extreme or something?
When was Wild Arms 5? I wonder, like, I'm just curious to see how long ago.
Wild Arms 5 was 2006.
Okay, so that must not have been very successful, and they dropped the series eventually.
Oh yeah, Wild Arms Alter Code F, and then Wild Arms XF for the PSP.
Right. So I think also I meant to mention or put in here that apparently they did a anime adaptation of this game at some point. So
Wild Arms 2.
Oh, Wild Arms 2, really?
Yeah, I had to really dive deep into this one because I was going to make us watch it for this review.
Okay.
But you guys have saved. It is loosely based off of the back end of Wild Arms 2, and there is there's a lot of manga around Wild Arms as well, but that's just general.
Gotcha. So that's the development history of the game. You guys ready to move on to the story there?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Yeah, man, feeling happy.
I'll give us a quick little introduction here. I'm just going to read like the intro from the wiki. 1,000 years before the events of Wild Arms, a war raged between the inhabitants of Filgaia and the metal demons seeking to turn the planet into their new home. After a fierce struggle, the humans captured the demons' leader. Quote, her name is just Mother, which is interesting, I thought. And sealed her within a castle in the tundra of Arctica.
Just killed a man.
Unable to destroy her
against his head.
constantly regenerating body, the people of Arctica removed her heart and tore it into 3 pieces, imprisoned her within a cocoon, and sealed the pieces of her heart inside 3 stone statues, which they spread across the world. I would say that sounds like overkill, but obviously it wasn't enough to stop her eventually. So,
Hung, drawn, and quartered.
with their leader gone, a majority of the demons disappeared, with only a few remaining in seclusion over the next few centuries, eventually launching an attack on the castle to reclaim the incapacitated body of Mother. Succeeding in their mission, a small band of demon warriors known as the Quarter Knights kept watch over the body of Mother in their fortress, protected behind a powerful force field, and began gathering information as to the whereabouts of the Guardian statues, with the hope of one day reviving her and claiming Filgaia as their own. As time passed, talk of the ancient invasion began to dwindle, though stories of demonic weaponry such as arms and robotic soldiers still persisted in the minds of many. So that's just sort of like the backdrop of what's happened before.
Does all of that just come to you in pieces, or is this all explained at one time? Because some of that was like kind of news to me.
It's all explained at the very beginning of the game.
Oh, that explains it.
In the library, when you're playing as Cecilia.
Oh, you have to read
If
the
you-
books.
If you read all the
Oh
books,
no,
all
That's
that
a
information
tragedy.
is there. So if you're willing to put up with all those random encounters and read all those
Absolute
books,
travesty.
So the game starts basically. You have to do like 3 campaigns as the 3 main characters. You can do them in any order you wish. So we'll just start with Rudy's. Basically, Rudy is our silent protagonist, and I went off on a rant on this last episode about how I hate silent protagonists. It's always funny how like all the characters are like so attached to Rudy throughout the game, and it's like he doesn't even talk back to you. But
he
anyway,
has 2 lines of he has 2 lines of text.
yeah, we can touch on that.
Let us not forget.
which is weird. But anyway, so Rudy, he lives in this place called Surf Village. He basically is just he does like farmhand type stuff, gets paid for it and all that. He's kind of like an outcast, doesn't really have a home or family or anything. And then he ends up going to Berry Cave, which is like a cave nearby, to try and save a kid, but he ends up releasing some monsters or something. And then the townspeople realize that he has an arm, and then that's when they're just like, "You get out."
Well, I have 2
an
arms.
ancient relic machine, or whatever it was.
So it's not,
Oh my
it's,
God,
not
you've got
a,
an arm.
it's not a village of like nuggets.
Right.
People with no arms.
He has a gun. How about that?
What a monster! He's gonna hit us.
So apparently these people do believe in gun control. So there's that.
Goddamn Democrats.
I like that. Well, because again, the guns are all the arms and everything are all associated with the demon race. So
Right. So that's basically it for him. He starts heading off into the wilderness. So then going over to...
yeah, that Surf Village people were such a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, they acted like
They
he
are
was like
serious dicks.
their
to him.
friends and family, and then they're just like, no, everything else trumps that. So kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I was pretty thrown off by that. I was like, "Oh, these people are odd. Like this must be like his family," and it's like they're just like, "Get out!" I'm like, "Oh my god, that's
Get out, you scum.
brutal."
You don't come from here. You don't belong here. Get out.
Gosh,
Oh, well. And I guess that sort of
There's
goes
some cool
towards
stuff you can do.
Rudy's whole plot line where he doesn't feel like he has a place where he belongs, I guess.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. So Jack is
There's
like
some cool
just
stuff you can do in Surf Village.
like
Sorry, do you want me to talk about it later in game?
oh well, you can. Are you talking about where you can like attack the chickens or something?
Yeah, you can attack the chickens. If you if you put a bomb on the save parrot as well, the chickens attack you.
I didn't know that. Go full Zelda.
Yeah, and there's some cool stuff you could do. There's some cool stuff you can do with bombing some of the other guards and stuff. But yeah, there's just like you can have lots of fun in this village. But it's like one of the only villages that's that interactive.
I was about to say I don't remember bombing people, so
I didn't go through just dropping bombs on people and birds. Oh,
But if you come back with Cecilia as well later on when she's got her magic wand and hit the horses, I think they have some really funny stuff to say. But
oh, I never even thought to do that. I also remember it took me like an unreasonable amount of time to figure out that you can pick up the boxes, but
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too.
yeah. So
Sorry.
Jack is basically this big burly adventure guy. I think like Indiana Jones type deal.
He is Indiana Jones.
He's kind of like the brash
slash
one
he's
of
Clint
the
Indiana
Eastwood.
Jones. Indiana Jones with a sword.
Yeah.
I
And
kept
his-
feeling like he was like some nerdy loser,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
because of the sprite.
And his whole deal is he's basically looking for some kind of quote power, and it never really explains
much
until
power.
later like what he even means like that. He's just looking for some kind of tool to do something, and you don't really know his motivations. He has a pet blue mouse. Well, not really a pet; it's his partner, a talking rat named Handpan.
A sentient animal, the only one in the entire world. Nobody ever questions it.
You should have put that as one of your worst RPG mechanics.
Yeah, because I complained about that with Grandia too, as well, with
Yeah.
like the
Sky.
bird, like
Right.
yeah, Sky. He's the only sentient animal in the entire universe, and so
Right.
is Hapan. What?
So you go
There's
through.
no explanation either. It's just this
Yeah.
mouse talks. It's just life.
Yeah, no one else in the game ever questions it. Not even the boy you have to molest with the mouse later on. Like,
Apparently, it's just a thing here.
it's just
So Jack's in
beyond-
this temple trying to seek some kind of power. He ends up finding like an ancient eel device, eel, and the eels. They are like an ancient race of people that used to have like an advanced civilization on the planet. Very common trope. But I thought it was interesting because it warns you to seek not Lolithia, and I think that's like one of the first things you actually do once the party gets together. So, which I didn't even think about, but so he gets the treasure, and he's off to his next adventure, I guess. So then hopping over to Cecilia's quest, and Cecilia is like, she's sort of like an acolyte or like a magician in training, kind of, over at this abbey. And you find out later that she's actually a princess, the Princess of Adlehyde, which is like the main kingdom hub area of the game. But she sort of like uncovers like a staircase that goes down into a secret library, and a guardian says something like, or it basically tells her she has a destiny she has to fulfill or whatever. I had a really hard time navigating that.
As long as she's not too busy reading all the books.
Right. Like someone else I know. I talked about this before, and I guess it's more in gameplay, but I had a really hard time navigating this abbey area because you have to like talk to everybody in like a certain order and all that. So, oh well.
Yeah, I suppose it is like just basically a circuit, though.
Yeah, it's not like I've
just
got
make
lost.
sure you go
It's
around,
like
talk
I
to
couldn't
everyone.
figure out what actually to do. So
yeah, I think the only bit for me was having to use the teardrop on that bit on the wall.
Oh yeah, because it doesn't teach you.
I
anything.
figured out. Yeah, I figured out the thing with hitting the switch on the statues, using the teardrop between statues, but then it was the bit of the wall. It's just like I kept just pushing X. It was like, well, nothing's happening.
Right.
Where's Hapan when you need him?
One thing I should have mentioned is that the guardians are like the summons of this game. They're like the godlike creatures. And then there's also golems, which there's like 8 of them across the world, and apparently they're powerful or whatever.
They were created to fight the demons during the original Demon War 1,000 years ago, which, if you read the books in the library...
I may have, but honestly, like...
you hear me say that a lot.
I was pretty drunk when I played this part of the game, so... So anyway, she heads off to
Scott.
Yeah, she heads off to Adlehyde, and you get to Adlehyde. There's like they're about to have some kind of big festival to celebrate like the defeat of the demons and the golems and all that. And the 3 of them meet back up. I don't remember what their reasoning was for actually grouping together. Or wait, is it that Jack?
So Emma,
right?
Oh no, Emma basically employs Cecilia and says like, hey, I need help with doing this, but you're going to need to find a couple of people. And then you literally just go and talk to them at the same point. And they're like, yeah, I've got nothing better to do.
And Emma is like this
and
crazy...
that was destiny.
Right.
I just got kicked out of my village. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just looking for an ultimate power. I'll go with you.
Yep. And so everybody comes together. And we should mention, since she comes up again and again in the plot, Emma is like this crazy scientist character. Very brash, kind of does whatever she wants, but
very into slave labor.
Right. So they have
found breaking city code.
They've discovered one of the golems nearby, and she wants to excavate it. So she hires you. You go out there, you go through a dungeon, and you do end up excavating the golem, which actually is Lolithia. And then I didn't realize until later, but it's like, that's exactly what the Guardian told, or the elves told us not to do, which I thought was funny. So they managed to excavate the golem. You have the festival. There's a bunch of mini games here that you can do, or you can skip them.
We can talk mini games.
Not now.
Yeah,
oh,
we'll save it.
I'll wait.
So then you what happens next is the demons attack. They just rain fire.
The most awful thing that I've ever seen in a video game like this. Like it's not just rain fire. You help a little kid find a balloon, and then he explodes next to you. Like it just like hellfire rains down and murders the little kid next to you. It's not just like, oh, there's some people getting chased by demons. Like, no, they're dead.
There's
gone.
a mini game
murdered.
where you have to
blood everywhere.
Go find corpses all across the village in hopes of finding a lot live ones, I believe.
Oh my god.
I really liked that aspect.
I was just so shocked that I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna help this little kid. It's a little kid looking for his mom, balloon, something. And he's just dead next second. Like, oh my god!
Hell rains down from the sky.
Can they kill kids in games? This in the 90s was that a thing?
Apparently so.
So the demons take all the golems, which were on display, and
Oh yeah,
they basically you meet one of the quarter knights, which is like the leaders of the demons.
Ball sack.
ball
Yep.
sack. We meet the quarter night ball sack.
And what he wants Cecilia's teardrop, which is like this heirloom that she has inherited that's magical and apparently is like a source of life and all that. I may be describing that badly, but it's a MacGuffin, basically. So she wants to do it because she wants to like spare the lives of her people. Her father, the king, doesn't want to do it because it's like giving it to the enemy or whatever. She ends up stealing it and she gets locked up, and then you guys escape the castle and all that. There's a mini game here kind of where you have to run away from guards. It's surprisingly challenging.
The worst mini game ever. You know, this is
Oh my
worse than
God.
the scrubbing thing in Grandia 1. Like,
It was awful.
oh god,
Very frustrating,
anyway,
too.
we'll save it for gameplay.
Yes.
She gives the teardrop to Belselt, and the demons take off with everything, and the everything's in fire and ruin, and it's very sad. The king dies, and then Cecilia decides that she's going to go on a journey with Jack and Rudy to get the teardrop back, and she cuts her hair with a dagger or with Jack's sword or whatever.
This is your moment, Jay.
See, I would, but I'm not the one holding on to the hair now, as Megan is.
You promised.
It has become a part of my identity for her. So
There you go. She does that because like Jack doesn't believe she's actually up for the adventure and thinks she's kind of snooty or whatever. And
it's like to show you that I'm ready for a life-threatening adventure, I shall cut my hair. This
Makes
act
perfect
that
sense.
takes half a second.
yeah.
to do.
So then they have a funeral procession. It's actually like a pretty cool scene. It's like, man, this game got real dark. And I think I mentioned this before in one of the other episodes, but like you get sort of like some narration here, and the narrator is like, the story begins here. And I'm like 6 hours in at this point. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, I remember seeing, because that's like where it first shows like the Wild Arms like thing, isn't it?
I think so.
Like you get like music and it shows like the blah blah, and I was just like, oh my god, okay.
Yeah, I was like 2 hours at this point.
Yeah. But I did enjoy
I
the
didn't spend
sequence.
time reading all the books in the library.
Right. Apparently I was just really slow on this first section for some reason. But anyway. So
Enjoying yourself, that's what it was.
there you go. Basically, you at this point you're off on an adventure to try and find the guardians. You climb a mountain and do all kinds of stuff, and I'm kind of yada-yadaing over some of the less important details here.
Yeah. Jack finds a lighter in a cave, as you do.
Right.
So you burn shit.
You go to the Guardian Shrine, and here it splits you up into three characters again, three different paths, and basically it's like a trial by the Guardians to make sure that the three characters are ready to, take on their destiny.
Yeah, this bit was great. I really enjoyed this bit. This was like some cool. This like it really played on like all the characters' weaknesses, and the
Right.
Guardians basically tested on each of them by just telling them how shitty they were.
Yeah, and they basically fail.
Introduction to the Guardians though was like one more new concept. So you got the demons, the golems, the guardians, the humans,
The
whatever the
elves.
hell Rudy is.
Well, because I didn't realize till like halfway through the game that the demons were all made out of metal and were like all robotic.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
got
either,
no-
actually,
you got-
I don't think.
Pardon?
So the Guardians, like, they decide, well, they don't really have a choice. They got to let these losers go and try to save the
Yeah,
world.
no one else has turned up, so fuck it.
Right.
Also, to note, these Guardians are called Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, yeah. Is that why that's why you wanted me to
That's
have
why I
that
wanted an
song
Earth, Wind,
ready.
and Fire drop. Did you get one?
I did not, because I was like, well, he didn't tell me why. So I assume it's for something stupid, so I didn't do it.
And you were right.
There you go.
My moment is gone. That's it.
So, as kind of like a sneak peek into the future, I totally thought that these three were just it. These were the only Guardians.
There's
And
like a
these
dozen
like
of them or something.
important. These like important.
Oh, there's so many.
Three characters, like they're gonna help you defeat the demons. I'm like, okay, 3 characters, 3 Guardians. This is a thing that makes sense. Nope.
I'd have to look through my runes. I'm pretty sure there's like 20 of them.
I feel like you get a new guardian every time you turn around. But
Every time you learn a little bit about yourself, you get a new guardian.
right.
Every now and then I see
You go
another
to
new
Baskar Village, which is like a Native American, like naturalist type town. You learn from the chief there that basically to stop the demon leader from being resurrected, you have to destroy or protect 3 statues, because if the statues are destroyed, it releases seals on Mother. And I'm pretty sure at this point we've been introduced to the all the quarter knights. Every now and then it'll give you a scene where like the 4 of them are talking about reviving Mother up in their spaceship or wherever it is they are. The photosphere, actually, I think. But so you go to Mount Zenom, you climb to the top, and that statue is destroyed by Belsac. And then you learn that you can use the L pyramids to teleport around the world, which was kind of a nifty feature since you didn't have teleport yet. You probably. You go to Saint Centaur. There's that scene where Handpan can't get in because it has like a monster gate. So they just put Handpan deep in his pocket or something. Didn't that actually unintentionally break the seal or something on that town? I remember the seal on the town gets broken somehow. But we'll get there.
I don't think that was Hapan, but yeah, it was just basically if he was close enough to Jack, he wouldn't set it off, so he had to sit deep in his pocket. And also, you skipped over how cool the teleportation system was.
Well, I said it was very useful.
Debatable.
I thought that was awesome. You just turn up to the thing and it's space. Now it's very very reminiscent of Fantasy Star 4.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that.
It turns you into particles, much like Star Trek. Flings you up, you bounce off a satellite and go down to the pyramid on the other side of the planet. I just thought,
right.
At that point, I was just like, oh my god, this is all going to go into because I couldn't remember much about the game. I was like, oh my god, we're going to go to loads of spaceship.
I remember I used the pyramids for the first time in forever towards the end of the game, trying to get to Abyss. It only took me 2 tries, but when it did the space beam thing, I was totally forgot that was a thing.
Because am I right? Is the Abyss that actually a space station? Do you get stuck in the satellite?
I don't remember that happening, but it could be.
Okay. I thought it happened towards the end. Yeah, you're up in space towards the end there.
Yeah,
because he's trying to do all kinds of evil things up there. He.
Yeah.
So you get to Cage Tower.
It was going to be a bit more prevalent though. That's all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Reel it back in.
You get to Cage Tower. You get to the top. You meet another one of the quarter knights, Alhazad, who is this giant hamster-looking thing with a white bed sheet draped over him.
Yeah, he's a goat with a cool jacket.
We get to see his true form later, and not until almost the end of the game. But he's like an eldritch horror under there.
He is butt ugly.
He's a dog Halloween costume.
Yeah, he's kind of like a horny planner type character. He sort of hatches devious plots and shit.
Hojo type person.
Yep. So apparently the second statue is actually in the town of Saint Centaur. So I forget why we came to the tower or whatever. But so Alhazad traps the group at the top of the tower, and he goes off to Saint Centaur to destroy the statue. And he says he's going to do experiments on the people of Saint Centaur. But actually, this is when you meet Calamity Jane and her butler McDoullin. And apparently, if you've been talking to people, you would have already learned about her. She's kind of this infamous kind of treasure hunter type character. I actually really enjoyed her role in the plot until they forgot about her at the very end. But so she actually lets you free if you pay her 2,000 Jella, which is the money, because she was going to get a bounty, but they already defeated the monster or something like that. So you go back to Saint Centaur. The town is empty. I guess they all got kidnapped and killed, and Alhazad has destroyed the statue. Womp womp. So we're 0 for 2 so far. You go to Port Timney. This is where you meet Bartholomew, who is the captain of the Sweet Candy, which is basically just a ship. Very interesting name. I think it tells you why he named it that at one point, but I don't really remember.
Oh, we know why.
We know why.
So he's apparently going to get married or something. So he asks you to get a crystal bud. You go to the Maze of Death to do that. You get that, and the place collapses. There's an optional boss there you can fight. You get back, and it turns out that the wedding was a sham. But he has a rival named Drake, so he wants to impress him. So they decide to put on a fake wedding so they can get onto the ship. And so there's like a
Do
series.
you think that this Drake guy? Do you think that he has enemies? Do you think he has a lot of enemies?
Are you basing that on the real life Drake?
Yeah, I got enemies. Got a lot of enemies.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
I'm too old.
There's like a series of humorous scenes here that you have to like remember like certain details about how the weddings are supposed to, the traditions go. But then of course, Lady Harkin, who is another quarter knight, she shows up, and after you fight Zed, who is a demon that wants to be a quarter knight, but he's just kind of like a joke villain, she destroys the statue. So we have completely failed, and you get a scene where Mother revives, and the quarter knights learn that she doesn't want to rule the world. She wants to destroy it, which is very concerning to them because they thought they were going to rule it.
It's epic, though. It's such a good bit of the story.
Oh, yeah.
They're all just like, well, shit.
Yeah, Jay basically mentioned it in every single RPG Club episode afterwards. It's just like,
Yeah.
she wakes up, it's like, I'm going to destroy everything, including you guys. I'm going to eat you as a snack afterwards. It's like,
It's going to be great.
Who's going to take out? I thought she was just going to take over the world. But no, Mum's going to eat me instead.
Siegfried, who is the leader of the quarter knights in particular, is like, fuck.
Yes. It's like, it's all going to be great. We're going to raise Mother. We're going to take over the world. It's going to be fine. No, I'm going to eat you.
Yep. So that is where part 1 of the first RPG Club segment that we did ended. So, Bill, I'll hand it off to you here.
Okay, but before I start, did you get the fact that Bartholomew, the ship captain, is supposed to be gay?
No, he is.
Yeah, it's actually Drake gives.
Way to miss
away...
that, Scott.
Yeah, well done, Scott.
Gator.
Yeah, I think Drake drops a lot of hints that he's got strange, like he's got different sexual preferences. Although
Got a lot of people trying to drain him of his energy.
I didn't catch that at all.
Come on.
So
yeah, he says he's a different kind of lover, and then if you get all the actions right during the sham wedding, and it gets to the point where he's about to kiss Cecilia, he says, "No, thank you, you're not my type."
Oh,
and
I thought I did it all right, but maybe I just wasn't paying.
I think it's something like that. Because I think he's supposed to marry the barmaid as well. But yeah, I think that's why. I think that's the whole thing that's been lost in translation. So I think he's supposed to be gay.
Japan always demonizes the gay people.
Oh yes. Oh, the one in Phantasy Star 2 is pretty bad. He got completely changed for the US version because they just thought it was a bit like close to the now.
This is very distasteful.
Yes, very distasteful. But yeah, Bartholomew is supposed to be gay.
Interesting.
Oh, Barty.
So anyway, I'll continue on. So next up, we go into the Sand River, which I absolutely hated. Even using a guide, I hated trying to I hate things like this where there's like, what do you call it, escalators and stuff where you go on and it just takes you off automatically and you've got no control.
You know what I hate?
those
the darkness. And I didn't have a Pikachu to use Flash. I hated it.
This place literally made me car sick and gave me a headache because I was playing it on the way down to one of my beach trips, and I just couldn't see anything. So I was like squinting and trying to hold the Vita a certain way. And when I actually got to the apartment and tried to like play it, I was like, oh, no wonder I couldn't see shit. I still can't see shit in the perfect lighting. So
yeah, man, you got to get that lighter out. Anyway, so you get through the Sand Rivers and you make your way to the ship graveyard, which is a town where everything washes up on the shore, which is very important to remember. Never forget. When you lose stuff, it always washes up in the ship's graveyard.
Yep.
And a man named Dan asks you to go to a pleasing garden where you get a special massage from a Thai lady. I mean, it's a big dungeon in the sky with, as Scott says, some silly, directional mechanics?
Yeah, this is the one where like certain paths wouldn't be open unless you had gone to certain rooms in like a certain order.
Yeah, you had to actually open up a chest in order to go somewhere for this one.
Yeah,
it's like
why you open up a chest that had a potion in it, which would then open up.
What if I didn't want
a
this
switch
potion
that you could use to go on?
I was trying to fly through this. I wasn't opening chests.
Why are we even here to begin with? Why are we helping rando guy get his wife's bracelet? We have important things to do.
His dead's wife bracelet, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so ridiculous. But I didn't use a guide, and I really enjoyed this dungeon, especially as you get the grappling hook here. And I thought that was an excellent mechanic. So, I really enjoyed the Pleasing Garden. I remember hearing you guys shit on it. I was just like, hey, that was a good dungeon, man.
It was a stupid dungeon with no plot development. Stupid.
Well, yeah, and there were basically in this whole section there was very little plot development anyway. So you go back to the ship's graveyard, and Bartholomew comes back with the sweet candy and says, "Hey, you can use my boat," but unfortunately a ghost ship turns up, which stops you from going anywhere. So you have to go on and you have to beat the ghost ship.
But to reiterate, we have metal demons, golems, guardian summons, humans, and ghost ships.
And elves.
And
This whole part of the game is kind of like a filler episode.
Yeah, basically, there's just so much exploration in this.
It's
one.
like they.
So this is where you then.
It's like they packed all the story in. It was like, oh man, this is only 15 hours. Guys, do stuff.
Although I will say, I thought the scene
because it is basically it. You get
the scene where the ship sinks was pretty cool looking. For this, game.
They did that really nicely, where they showed it everyone standing on the sweet candy, watching the boat slowly sink into the ground, and then I think whatever you needed off of the ghost ship then washed up on the shore in the ship graveyard. You know,
yay!
They're hammering the point home here. And then you get to travel around the inner sea on the sweet candy, and you basically just have to find a load of random shit in order to get into the tri-pillar, which had really good. I love this bit because you could split the party up.
This was an absolute pain if you screwed up. There is a way to like get out of it. I did not know that, so I just loaded a save.
I didn't know that either.
What was the way out?
You have to like get to a certain point that will let you like go back to the beginning. I'm pretty sure there's like a teleporter somewhere
out there over the rainbow blue.
Yes.
But yeah, it was really cool. You got to split your party up, and as long as you put the party on the right teleporter, so that they had their part of the dungeon, because like one part would have grappling hook mechanics, which unless you're Jack, you've got no chance of getting over. And yeah, you get to the top of the tri-pillar, and then you get to fight the Mage Fox, who I actually had a lot of trouble with.
He was pretty hard.
Yeah, I found that absolutely balls out hard. He could one shot Cecilia, and that was it. I'd be fucked. I had to fight him twice. And then you get the blue virtue, whatever that is. Sorry, just broke my iPad.
Say what the hell was that? What is it? There's like a blue virtue and a red something, and you need these to unlock somewhere.
Yeah, there's like a red eye and a blue virtue, which you need to unlock the dungeon where the golem is.
Oh, so is that it? We're after the golem already at this point. I guess because we know where the demons are. It's in the photosphere, and it has that big barrier over it. And apparently the golem can break it or something.
Because we've failed at stopping Mother from being revived, and so now we're just looking for shit to fight the demons with. And the only thing we know about are these eight golems of legend, which were made 1,000 years ago to beat the demons. And we know they've already taken 3 of them, so we might as well try and find some of the others. We then end up going to Rosetta and the Forest Mound, where we actually meet our first eel. Which is
we should look up how to pronounce that.
No, it's supposed to be elf, but they just decided to put a W in there because they were being lazy with the translation.
Oh, the more you know.
I'm not looking up how to say that. Yeah. Well, they've got pointy ears, like they are elves.
Yeah.
They're pronounced Elu.
And
Elu?
Elu.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
All right.
Brilliant. So we meet Meryl, our first Elu, and she's been bullied by the town kids, which is hilarious.
Hello to you.
And this is kind of where we get our first bit of plot with Rudy, isn't it? He actually stands up for her and punches a kid in the face.
I enjoyed that,
which is great. So yeah, she's trying to help the sick mayor because she's got some special herbs in brackets.
I wish I had some special herbs.
He means marijuana.
Yeah, and then when we eventually, you help the mayor, everyone's happy with you. Jane comes along and tells you to go to the volcano trap for some reason.
So apparently that's where the other jewel, the red jewel you need is.
Oh yes, and so in the lava dungeon, where lava actually really, really hurts.
Yeah.
Like I'm so used to RPGs where you walk over, acid floor or lava floors, and it takes 1 hit point off, and you're like, I don't care. I'm gonna walk across this thing and use a potion.
Right.
But this one, like you walk over it 3 steps, and it takes all of your HP away, and then
I
you
had
get
the
into a
same
random
thought.
counter, and you're fucked. I was just like, oh wow, like this actually means shit in this game.
Right.
And here we get confronted by Zed and Ballsack, who sets a trap for us. But Jane destroys the pillars. We then defeat Ballsack, and his replacement, Boomerang, kills him because he's like a mystery assassin.
Yeah.
But at this
Like a
point, we
ninja
don't know
character.
that is. Yeah, we don't know he's Boomerang. We find out in like 2 minutes later when there's another cutscene.
Right.
So this is where we've got our blue stone and our red stone. We go to the giant's cradle and we find the earth golem buried within. So we go and fetch Emma to examine it, and she says she's unable to activate it, and they need a rune drive.
We need a third thing.
It's just more fetch questing. Yeah.
How
So
does
there's a bit here.
You mentioned you skipped
like
over the scene where Rudy saves Jane from like the rubble falling on her, and that's where you get your first hint that she might have feelings for him.
Oh yes, and McDullen. Good old
Right.
McDullen.
I was surprised
I really
that
like
they
Butler.
actually killed off one of the quarter knights this early.
Well, Ballsack.
He was the worst,
Nah.
though. He was god awful.
Oh yeah, he
He
was
didn't
definitely
even
like the
look
most
cool.
traditional evil villain, I guess.
We're hitting a 10-hour point now of a 30-hour RPG. You got to kill off one of the 4 bad guys.
All right.
And then immediately replace him with someone else.
Yep.
So here's a little bit from the wiki. Realizing the only way to defeat the demons is to confront them in their stronghold, the photosphere, Jack, Rudy, and Celia gather the necessary materials to enter the tomb of the last remaining golem, the Earth Golem of Asgard. And then we go to Court Siam, is it? Sam? And Jane from here, this is where Jane goes full Terror from Final Fantasy VI. Turns out she's actually running an orphanage for abandoned children who have been abandoned.
So this daring
How
bandit
kind of
bounty
her.
hunter thing was more of like a cover
Yeah.
for she's actually doing all this sweet shit over in her hometown.
Yeah, she just makes a lot of money doing bounty hunting and then pumps it into these kids, which is not much bounty on this world, is there? It's pretty dead and dying, and we go mop up everything else.
Seems like it.
I love that about RPGs.
Well, they do reference how the
Basically
world
go
is decaying over and over. So
Yeah. Well, it is unfortunately. And yeah, this is where her father, Nikolai, explains Rudy's backstory of being raised by an old arms, ARMS, not an old guy with old arms, old man Zepet, who I think was supposed to be called Geppetto. Was that right?
that's what it said.
Yeah, that's a little.
I can see why they
little
changed that.
too-
A little
too
on the
Disney
nose.
there.
Yeah.
I can already see the lawsuit coming in from Disney when they realise, Geppetto.
And there's a character who just wanted to be a real boy. Wait a minute.
It was a robot.
Isn't
We
the
don't find
actual
out he's a robot
Pinocchio
here yet.
story public domain though? So they'd probably still found a way to sue the shit out of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is our public domain. We own the public.
Right.
That's what your Disney Plus subscription pays for. So then we finally get to go into the Epitaph Sea, which is the kind of the rest of the world. And we, the Epitaph Sea's a dungeon, isn't it? See, I'm already lost at this point. It was just
Yes.
dungeon. Tiny bit of story, dungeon. Yeah, it's a tower. And this is the bit with Boomerang and Lucide where we have our first fight with them, and Rudy gets his skates.
Yep.
It's just the tools are getting a bit bonkers. at this
That
point.
boss battle sucked.
I mentioned this a few times, but Lucide is
Yes.
apparently one of the Guardians. And it never explained
Yes.
why she is helping a demon, really.
So, 5th bookcase over to the left.
No,
Towards the back of the library. It explains how one of the Guardians, the Lucide, in the 1,000-Year War of the Demons, or whatever it was, changed sides, thinking that the Guardians were never going to win and the demons were going to. So it was a Guardian. It had changed sides.
Okay.
So
Well,
it had actually.
Goddamn books.
still.
Come
Yeah,
on.
man, you got to read the books.
I don't have to, you. You obviously don't have to.
I didn't. I just looked it up on YouTube afterwards.
I tried. I didn't like
You're
purposely
smart.
skip them. I guess I just
You're
missed
not
some.
read. You're smart. I think at that point in the game as well, all of everything it's talking about is just such bonkers nonsense that you haven't learned all that lore yet. That
That's
it
true,
will just
too.
go completely over your head.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But yeah, that sucks. That fight sucks. You have to take Lucide out as soon as you can, and then Boomerang's not too hard afterwards. But yeah, together they are an absolute bastard.
Yeah, that one is pretty hard.
Then you get the rune drive. Then you go back to Court Siam. You have a celebratory dinner. But Al Jihad, whatever his name is, Al Hazard, threatens to wipe out the whole town if the rune drive isn't turned over. So the townsfolk evacuate to the secret shrine, which has my favorite mechanic in the whole game.
Well, Jay's going to tell us about it.
Let's talk about the sacred shrine and this garbage mechanic. So the Court Scene people, including Jane, start hiding off in this sacred shrine. So basically, you go in the shrine and you get lost for 2 hours because you have zero idea how to do anything. And then you get on Discord and say, guys, what the hell do I do here? And then somebody says, throw the mouse at a kid. You throw the mouse at a kid and he moves. And then you can talk to freaking, what is it, Jane at that point?
No, it's like the nun, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's the nun. God, that's...
Now, this made perfect sense to me. Because if you talk to the kid, he said, oh, I really don't like mice. And it was just like, my first thought was, oh, I've got a mouse I can throw at people.
I don't remember him saying that he doesn't like
mice.
mice. I don't remember seeing that. Does he say it like
it was something
in the
like
same
that.
scene or like 2 hours ago?
No,
whenever
it's
you
there.
were
If
in
you talk
Court
to that kid, he goes, oh, I really don't like mice. And then my first, my evil brain.
To be fair, I talked to him and I did see that line of dialogue, but my last 2 brain cells still did not connect to the hand thing.
Like, yeah, I'm going to throw
I
this
had to
mouse
look
at
up-
him who usually just flip switch.
Now, the bit that got me was the fact you had to hit the dog with the wand and then it would
Yeah,
turn
well,
into a
I
demon.
figured that out in like 2 seconds.
That
I
confused the
figured
fuck
that out
out
in
of
2
me.
seconds. I was like, okay, this must be what I have to do here. And I did it, and I was like, okay, what's next after you you beat this dog that turns into a beetle tank, which was super easy, by the way.
Yes.
So yeah, you throw the mouse at the kid, you talk to the nun. So dumb. What happens exactly after you talk to the nun?
You have a fight with Al Hazard. She tells you they're all standing around the back, basically by the like the armory thing, and one of the people from the town's protecting the rune drive. And so you go that then means you can have a dialect with the guy at the door who then lets you in, and then you can fight Al Hazard.
So you do that. You go and fight Al Hazard. So first question, was that dog actually just a secret boss? You didn't actually have to beat it?
I don't know.
I think so. I think it was optional.
Interesting.
I felt like it was
Nice little
part of the
Easter
game.
egg
I
there.
could be wrong.
I felt like you
Anyway.
had to do that for some reason.
So after you fight Al Hazard, you get to keep the rune drive, and you which is used to power up the golem. Nikolai uses it to power up the golem back at Court Seam. And then he talks about reversing human greedery before installing the rune drive.
It's one of those
Yeah,
things where
it's a
it's
bit
like, what are
weird.
you even talking about? And you just keep clicking through the dialogue.
Yeah, it's like, this doesn't make sense. But Cecilia has like some sort of mojo, and she's able to awaken it. And then from there, you get to drive around in the Earth Golem, which is the first vehicle where you do not get wild encounters. Which is
Because she promises the Earth Golem that they won't use it as a tool of destruction, and that it will almost be part of the party.
and then they immediately drive its ass
Use it as a
over
tool
to
of
the
destruction.
photosphere to destroy the photosphere.
It's like Golem smash.
Yeah.
Right. So we take this golem and we Hulk smash the photosphere using it like a tool, which
Reagan
is
smash.
yeah, right. And there is a blue robed figure that you eventually find in the photosphere, and it helps you. So this actually turns out to be Zeke, because he's like, I don't, Of course, I don't
I don't
want to
wanna be
die.
eaten.
I'm gonna. I regret all the decisions. And there is you have to fight Lolithia, which is kind of a huge pain in the butt because she puts you to sleep and then murders you.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was so annoying. And there's
It's on my
nothing to
notes
wake
to
you
talk about
up.
the
You
sleep
just have to
mechanic.
wait there. But
Oh,
we'll talk about that in
sleep.
gameplay. So you have a boss fight with Mother. Mother, dies. Photosphere crashes. Jane and Bartholomew rescue us. And there's some dialogue here that it becomes a little more apparent that Jane is in love with Rudy. But then the demons reappear on the ship, and they're like, "Haha, we helped you defeat Mother, but we're still gonna take over. We just needed to get this roadblock out of the way."
I actually did think that was kind of a cool twist that they actually went against Mother. Although I was kind of surprised at this point that Mother was already like taken care of, which obviously we learn she's not. But it was just like, oh, they're doing something different here. I figured she
Yeah.
would come back, but
Yeah, it was kind of a cool twist because you do think Mother's going to be the big bad guy at the end. But it's just like, oh no,
right.
she's gone. She's out of the way.
Yep. So through all of this, Mother does get destroyed, and you do get the teardrop back. So from here, you make your way back to Adelheid. So there's like a big planning session that happens, and like a whole bunch of really unimportant things that happen here. In my opinion, it was quite boring.
I did like that,
so-
like all the side characters came together and you like sort of joined forces. It kind of seems like, oh, like the cast actually sort of matters.
Yeah, right. So thinking that the worst is over, the trio depart from Adelheid, where they are confronted by the Quarter Knights, who inform them of their plan to take over Filgaia. And the Mother is no longer around. We're not going to destroy everything. We're just going to take it back over. So next we go to the Dragon Shrine. So I can't remember exactly what the kind of lead here is, because I think they were just go be a dream chaser is kind of the vibe that I was getting.
I think
somehow
you
end
one of
up
the
finding
Guardians
out
is there somehow, so you want to go get that
you
Guardian.
you end up learning that there is like something stopping the trade or something like that for one of the towns, and you're like, okay, I'll go figure out what's causing these issues. And it ends up being like there's this whole whirlpool thing, and you end up getting to the Dragon Shrine. So
Isn't this the one with the
and all
really
of that's
finicky
from-
block pushing puzzles?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it
I think
is.
so.
Yeah.
And you get your silly vase full of water.
That you only use here, if I recall correctly.
Oh, I think there's some stuff in the final dungeon you use it for as well, but it's just like,
Yeah.
what's the point in this tool?
Yeah,
You've got a watch that can turn back time.
so you get the magic vase that can pour water endlessly, which is like an invaluable tool to all of mankind. And we figure out that the demons want to destroy the Ray line, which will kill the planet or something. And Jack recognizes Lady Harkin's fast draw. So Lady Harkin's kind of like the boss battle here. And Jack recognizes her move. And this is kind of the first intro to like, oh, there's like some connection between all Harkin and Jack.
Yeah, I totally called the twist like way before it happened, but I don't think it was particularly well hidden either. So
Yep. So once you get out of the Dragon Shrine, if I recall correctly, this is where the red like areas start to open up quite a bit. You're able to go to quite a few other areas. I'm gonna yada over some of them, like the Isle of Conflict, Isolated Guild, where you can get some more magic. We'll talk about that in gameplay. There's Ancient Arena, which I had never done. Deserted Isle, Snow Ravine. So lots of different areas.
You're just
side
finding
stuff.
different guardians, different runes. What's the thing? The ocarina to summon the guardian, the golem, wherever.
Yep.
that was useful for 2
It
seconds.
was very useful. But yeah, from here you end up going to the Demon Lab. So Harkin is protecting the Dark Tier. There's quite a lot of dialogue between Harkin and Alhazad, which is just like him being like super horny.
He's being pervy towards her.
Yeah. This this whole demon lab is exactly what it says, demon lab. There's scientists, computers. You fight Lady Harkin again, and just get more development on the connection between her and Jack. I'm wanting to say, does the Dark Tier end up getting destroyed here?
No.
I think it's later.
Okay.
Later.
I can't remember the actual plot that happens in the demon lab.
I think it's not until Cod Dingle, right? That thing gets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Old Dingleberry.
Yeah.
So next we go to the Forgotten Ruins. We get the Orc Arena here. We go to the Wandering Isle. Oh, the Wandering Isle was that dungeon with all the floating islands. You had to like grapple everywhere.
hooks.
I actually had quite a lot of fun with that. Yeah,
It was
you
like
have to get
really
it
enjoyed
just right. And I'm like,
it was like training for. There's a section like that in Abyss that's much harder.
Next, we have the Dead Sanctuary, which is has like this color coded puzzle towards the end that if you weren't following the guide would be really difficult because if I recall correctly, the translation sucked. So it's like I followed a guide, so I had no issues knowing like which order the colored puzzles had to be in.
I probably had to reset this room about 20 times, and then I looked it up in a guide.
There's plaques throughout the dungeon that give you hints, but it doesn't.
I know, but they're
tell
just
you
so confusing.
It doesn't tell you that you need to remember this shit. It
courage,
just seems like lore drops when you're reading them.
Yep. So at the end of this this dungeon, I believe we fight Boomerang and Lucide again, which again very difficult boss battle. I struggled on every single one of these Boomerang and Lucide battles.
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of trouble remembering what actually like the actual plot that happens in here. So Boomerang and Lucide, and this is from the notes for those listening. I didn't just magically remember. So Boomerang and Lucide says we just have rocks after getting the 3 idols. So representing courage, love, and hope. I'm pretty sure there's some more down the road with the idols. And then after you leave or defeat Boomerang and Lucide, leave Dead Sanctuary, you are kidnapped by Zeke and taken to the gate generator.
The reason Lucide says you just have rocks is because those Guardian statues haven't activated. They're like side quests later in the game where you go activate the hope one, then you get the rune. So he's like, no, you've done all this to win these 3 statues and they don't do anything.
What a fool. So
What idiots.
So yeah, Zeke comes and like kidnaps the crew. And I guess I didn't know this, but the darkness that kind of like destroyed Aldehyde like kind of makes its way through here again. I remember seeing like a scene where it like looks really freaky, and then you have to do some battles because I remember like just getting pummeled by Lucide and Boomerang, and then immediately into like some battles where they can like paralyze you, and then you're in the gate generator. So that was a huge pain in the butt. So on the way to the gate generator, well, in the gate generator, so Zed does appear, and this is another instance of like crazy mechanics that are either good or bad. So you make your way through the gate generator, and it kind of seems like there's nowhere to go. You go all the way down one hallway, open up a chest, go back, and then like the Zeke appears and destroys the bridge, and he's just like, haha, now you can't get over. And you just use the grappling hook and grapple on Zed. And it's like, this time I like knew. I was like, okay, I get it now. But you grapple on Zed, and he's just like, whoa, what the heck? You eventually make your way through this dungeon. You fight the Diablo Golem, which I thought was a lot easier than Lolithia.
Yeah, he was one of the other 3 golems taken from the festival.
Yeah, he was weak against some spell that I had with Cecilia that just totally wrecked him. I can't remember exactly.
This is around the point of the game where I stopped having trouble with bosses almost entirely.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
this
I got my system down at this point, and it was just like, okay, I'm going to destroy everything from now on.
Right.
at this point you have advanced magic, so Cecilia was like really useful.
Yep.
So you defeat the Diablo Golem, and then you have a fight with Siegfried, which isn't too difficult. And then Zeke like goes all crazy. He creates some sort of like demon black hole gate thing to try and suck
Void.
everybody into it. Yeah, just some void. He thinks that he's like, you know, the next best thing since sliced bread. So he thinks he'll survive, but he like grapples onto Rudy, and Rudy, being like the you know badass that he is, or maybe he just doesn't feel, he has no feelings. He cuts off his own arm, and then Zeke kind of gets sucked back in, and apparently taken back to the photosphere, which I thought was kind of odd. Like, was it a black hole? Was it just like a teleporting you to the photosphere?
I'm guessing that Mother is somehow influenced to that, but it could also just be a very convenient plot point.
Yeah, he's very confused. He's just like, oh, I've ended up here of all places.
Yeah, and then Mother just like shows up and just, you know,
Gelatinous blob from the ceiling.
yeah, absorbs him with her gooiness.
I wish
so
they
she
hadn't
knew-
actually shown this scene at this point, because they acted later like it was supposed to be a surprise, and it kind of would have been if they had saved it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I found it quite odd, and I even found it more odd when you see Zeke again, and it just looks like Zeke. And it's like, oh, I didn't know she could do that.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So
She's
back to the
planted
crew.
her seed inside him.
Yeah, something.
Ooh, gross.
So back to Rudy. We actually find out he is a man-made machine. Like, everybody's looking at him, trying to like help him, and like, oh, there's like bolts, metal. There's a screw here. There is like some emotional scenes with Emma, and Cecilia gets a little emotional too, and you know everybody's all emotional. Jane becomes frustrated with Cecilia. So the crew ends up heading to Rosetta to find herbs for Mariel to heal Rudy, while everybody else prepares for battle. So was there a conversation here that was like, hey, like the Elus like made the, you know, these robots. We should go find an Elu, and then they should know how to fix the robot.
I think it's something like that. They're
Yeah, I'm
like,
pretty
this is
sure I
our
remember
only
that
hope,
conversation.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, oh, we know one Elu, the only Elu left.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think Emma says to you, like, hey, the LUs, whatever, used to make robot people, but that was a long time ago. I found like 1,000 years ago, whatever it was. And you're like, hey, I know the last one on Phil Gaia. It's handy.
Yep. So I thought that was a pretty cool scene. I liked how Jane was basically, you know, sort of trash talking Cecilia, like, you're useless. I can't stand you.
This is right.
Yeah.
Well, after the advanced magic, a little less so, but
Right. All right, that was the end of our third RPG Club segment. So getting into part 4, I'm going to try to pick up the pace a little bit here. So
Damn right.
you go to the Rosetta town. You meet back up with Mariel, and basically the only way for her to heal Rudy is for her to go meet with her brother, who apparently is living 1,000 years ago in the Elu dimension. And so you learn apparently there's like this Elu dimension that basically it's just like a bubble where it's Filgaia as it was 1,000 years ago, and that's where all the Elu live now.
this doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I sort of thought of it as like Dreams Enerkant, because it's like Dreams Enerkant is actually a physical place that exists or existed in Spira. So she takes you to the forest mound. There's a scene where she like stabs herself to open the portal to get there. She doesn't die though, which I kind of wish she did, because it kind of made like the whole thing seem pointless, but that's aside from the point. You go back there, and then you're in like this 1,000 years ago version of the world. You run into the Elus. At first, they want you to leave immediately because it's their world is supposed to be a secret. But then they're like, well, wait, we can't let them tell anybody else about us. So they let you keep going. You get to Vasim's lab. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but apparently he's like an Elu outcast for messing around with like the metal demon stuff. And apparently that's why everybody hates Mariel too. But anyway, so at first he's resistant to fixing Rudy because they need to make like a sword, the Guardian Blade, I think it's called. I don't know why the sword has the power to heal a metal demon or whatever, but
Just go with it.
yeah. But you need to get some MacGuffins, of course, to get the sword. And you also learn that apparently there was like a thing called the Home Cross Project, which creates home crosses, which are basically just humans that are made like demons. Everything, they're still like human, but they're just made of different material or stuff. This is another thing I think you mentioned, Jay, that it's like, okay, I'm just going to roll with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you missed out a bit with Meryl's brother. He the sword that he made actually caused a huge amount of destruction. It caused that entire desert that cuts through the planet.
Right, yeah.
So that's why. So to punish him, they banished his sister.
Right, okay.
So she's kind of
sense.
suffering his punishment.
That sounds right.
What is with
kind of
seemingly
the-
benevolent people just like outcasting everybody in this game?
It's a thing. It's a trope.
Yeah.
It's in real life too. So
So the first place you got to go is to De La Metallica, which is like this secret library dimension under Koran Abbey. So you go back there, you work your way in. Not much happens here, more dungeoneering. You get the one piece of whatever you need to get the book, to get the blade back. And so you go back to, and basically Cecilia somehow manages to enter Rudy's dreams and there's like this extended sequence where she's like trying to encourage Rudy to like leave his comfort zone because apparently he likes his dreams too much to wake up.
he is a dream chaser.
That's true. So why would you want to leave? He found the dream, so
The dream chasing robot.
full circle. It turns out old man
robots dream
Zeppet
of
in
electric
Rudy's
sheep?
dreams is like a demon or like a dream demon or something. Cecilia has to solo it. And then there's like this really touching quote unquote scene where Cecilia basically realizes that the reason that she's not able to connect with other people and love other people is because she never trusted people to like her because she's a princess. And then the love guardian shows up and she's convinced that she should have just let her shield down the whole time and have been a regular girl and people would have liked her for who she is. I actually thought it was kind of a cool scene. I know Jay complained about it. It's one of the more dramatic scenes in the game.
It's like I didn't even know that she was struggling with this. Like
Yeah.
somehow like Cecilia learns to love again and gets this guardian idol. It's like, oh, I didn't know. Why would I be expecting this?
Right, because I don't think they've talked about like Cecilia's motivations or anything like that at all since like her hair cutting scene,
It's like
more or less.
it's like the minute you learn that this is a thing, this thing completes.
right.
It's like, hey, here's the plot. It's done now.
Yeah. And that's saying something because I would say she is the most compelling character of the main trio. But
And that's something.
yeah. So you know, Rudy's healed, everything's back to normal. Vasim tells Rudy that if he accepts that he is not human, he will awaken to new powers, and I don't think that ever actually amounts to anything. You go back to Adlehyde, and apparently she's working on an airship, and that's the only way they're going to be able to get where they need to go. Of course, this airship needs 2 more MacGuffins that you need to power it up or something like that. But you do get a proto version of it, and I actually thought the airship was pretty cool, like as far as how it navigated and what it kind of looked like and all that. But you go to Gemini's corpse. There's a line here about the sweet candy not being the USS Missouri. Fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, those are weird.
Yeah.
I didn't like those at all.
So the other group, like all the other characters, went to get the second thing that you need to power up the airship. But it gets attacked by a stone mermaid, I guess. And the ship ends up sinking. So they think they've permanently lost one of the pieces they need to power up the airship. But you just got to remember to go back to ship graveyard. And then there it is.
Everything washes up in ship graveyard. Yes.
The thing that's weird about threw me off about all that is because there's literally a scene after the ship sinks where you're at the beach in ship graveyard. So it's like you don't think to come back after you go talk to Emma or whatever. Yeah. So the next dungeon is Pandemonium. You get there by flying your brand spanking new airship. I forgot to mention there's a scene where the airship crashes and Bartholomew is the captain, and they send him to the hospital. It's like, oh well.
Poor Bartholomew.
You fight Lady Harkin here and some other random bosses. I think this is the last one, right? Yes, it is. Apparently, Alhazad or Lady Harkin is actually Elmina, who is a love interest for Jack in the past, and that's why he's been talking about revenge this whole time against the demons. Alhazad turned her into Lady Harkin because apparently she would be the perfect mother. I didn't really get that, but
So real quick, did Jack know that, or did he think that she was killed by the demons, or that she was just killed? Because I was under the assumption that everybody forgot about the demons until the demons attacked Adelheid. Or did Jack know about the demons?
I don't remember. To be honest, his whole past plot line was confusing to me.
Something happened in more recent events that destroyed Artica Castle.
Oh,
I can't remember what it was though, but
actually,
it was kind of to do with that.
If you leave the game on the title screen, it shows you this extended prologue sequence that apparently explains what happened to Elmina and all that.
Really?
Yeah, I watched it before I started the game, and then I didn't think about it again until today. So I wish I had rewatched that.
Oh wow!
But
I didn't
anyway,
know that was there.
So you destroy basically. Lady Harkin / Elmina fucking dies, which I was surprised by. So at least that punch was not pulled. And then basically Alhazad says that you're a failure, and they want to raise a tower called Caw-Dingle that will complete the decay of the world or something like that.
Caw-Dingleberry.
They actually do use the dark tier here, and it rains fucking death and destruction down. You actually see the earth cataclysm lines and kind of shift and fall apart a little bit.
You see tornadoes, there's a tsunami. It's just it goes to shit.
Yeah, I thought it was weird though, because it's you don't actually see any of that stuff after this if you go explore the world. But what you gonna do?
Well, don't you have to oh no, they're still rebuilding Adelheid from the first attack, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. Unless you have been paying off the donation thing, but that's a whole other thing. You learn about how
mechanics.
Jack became he was knighted by Old Man Coldbird or something. He was a Finral knight and was in training. They changed his name from Garrett to Jack Van Buris, which who knows what's going on at this point.
Doesn't it mean arm guard or something?
Yeah, I guess so.
He's supposed to protect the sword, which is Lady Harkin or whatever her name is.
I guess that makes sense. But that's the end of RPG Club Part 4. And I think this next section is the last one.
Yep, this is the last section. So that will bring us to the Arctica Castle, which is all plot for Jack. So, decent castle, icy floor. This is where
this is
the
where
final
Harkin
battle
dies.
I
got ahead of myself.
Yeah, Scott actually touched on a few points here that I think actually happened in this section. So this is where we learned all about Jack's past. You have a one-on-one battle with Lady Harkin as just Jack, and then she totes dies, and we learn that yes, according to this game, yes. So next up is do you know something I don't know? Did I miss another thing?
You obviously didn't do the side quest. You can bring her back to life.
Oh well,
that's coming.
Okay, cool.
We'll get to that in a bit.
So I think this is, I'm pretty sure this area is actually where you learn a lot more about Caw-Dingle, and this is actually where the scene happens where you see the tower burst out of the water, and it's kind of crazy how amazing, how like what good shape this tower is in, considering it's been underwater.
Yeah, for 1,000 years.
Yep. But basically, I think
huge
this
teleporter to the sky.
So you have the idol of love already done. You have the idol of courage already done. Now you need the guardian of hope, and I think you have to go back to Basker Village to do this. Is that correct?
Yeah, because you can go to that temple at the top of like the back end of Braska Village, and every time you go there, it goes, "No, you're not ready yet. No, you're not ready yet." And then at this point, once you've got the other 2 statues activated, this activates the 3rd statue, and then they say that some odd shit about Rudy's artificial heart is the thing that breaks the seal.
Yeah, that's weird.
They learn to love through his artificial heart.
Yeah, okay, but he is apparently the guardian of hope, which I didn't quite understand.
Is that hope with a capital H or a lowercase h?
Capital H. Final Fantasy 13 hope. Yeah,
excellent. Good.
So
it's Hope's guardian.
So all 3 idols are unlocked, and now we have to go to Ka Dingle. So you are greeted by Boomerang and Lucide, and this is the last battle with Boomerang and Lucide.
Well, unless
you do the side quest.
Yeah. Again. So you fight them, and they're like totally impressed by the cast, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna take one for you guys. We're gonna hold off these demons and let you inside, which I thought was, I don't know, kind of cool, but also like that doesn't make any sense. So basically, you go through this tower. I don't remember a whole lot about this dungeon. I felt it was pretty basic. Once you get towards the end of this dungeon, you get teleported to Malduk, and which is split into 2 parts.
And you take out Alhazad permanently at the top of the dingle.
Yes, you do.
That's
take
where
out
he sort of turns into
and he
that
takes
weird
off his
mole or
sheet.
monster.
Yeah, he takes off his sheet.
He's flashing you.
I didn't have. This Boomerang battle was actually quite a bit easier than the other ones, in my opinion. And then I didn't have any issue with the Alhazad battle. So you're in Malduk, and this is another dungeon that I'm not remembering quite well.
The main thing about this one was you could split into like 3 different directions or 3 different areas you had to get through to get like the 3 pieces of whatever you needed for the final gate.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. I had to look up a guide for that one where you have to like search that specific grave.
At this point in the game, I was playing at like 6 a.m, the day of us recording the RPG club, and so I was like, well, I gotta just humble through this guide.
Yeah. So before we get to like the final boss and ending, I'll just rush through the story related side quests real quick. You can restore Adlahide, and you can find an optional guardian to where you can bring back Elmina, but she won't have any of her memories. So Jack takes that deal and just chooses to let her live her new life.
They have to delete her memories so that she doesn't remember all the atrocious things she's done as Lady Harkin. And then you can get a really funny scene, don't you, where you get to talk to her. She's like a barmaid in one of the villages. Yes,
I never actually saw that scene, but I read a couple of days ago that apparently that's a thing. So I wish I had.
Yeah.
You can go to Saint Centaur and fight Zed again. Apparently he's like keeping the blind girl there company, and he's found like a purpose in protecting her. You can choose whether or not you want to kill him. I gave him mercy. I don't know what happens if you don't, but I assume they actually kill him.
Just be a bit of a dick.
Right. And then you could go back to the ancient arena. If you complete all the fights there, you get to fight Boomerang and Lucide one more time. Lucide's been transformed into a sword for some reason. But I didn't really have any problems with that fight either. I think that's the only story-related stuff that's actually a side quest at this point. So I'll throw it back to you for the ending here.
So, time for Malduk Part 2. Also, Malduk is a terrible name for our final dungeon. So
better than Ka Dingle.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, these are all like depraved sex acts, aren't they?
This is all terrible. So within Malduk's deepest sanctum, deep sanctum, they confront Siegfried, who transforms into a revived mother. So this new being, Motherfreed, that's the actual name of this boss, is Motherfreed. Motherfreed. So you have to fight Motherfreed. They confront the heroes with the intent of using Malduk's primary weapon to destroy Filgaia. But of course, you defeat old Motherfreed. Awful naming. However, even after the defeating the last of the demons, it seems too late to stop Malduk. And
Yeah,
Sorry.
the Guardians decide to pull their strength together via the teardrop.
yeah, I don't know why I just
revive
blanked
the
there.
world.
You'll probably want to cut that out. So
That's all right.
I wanted to bring up here real quick. There's a line when they find, or earlier, a little earlier, where Zeke talks about wanting to destroy the world, and Cecilia's like, "I thought you wanted to rule it. You're just like Mother," or something like that. And
Yeah.
the reveal doesn't happen then. But I was like, "Well, Cecilia, I've got some news for you."
So yeah, they defeat the last of the demons, but it doesn't seem like anything's going to happen. So the Guardians are able to pool their strength and revive the world. So Rudy, Jack, and Cecilia board the teleportation device to be transported back to Filgaia, only to be stopped in mid-voyage by what is left of Siegfried's body and his spear. It's like I've crawled my way out of hell to come and fight you for some reason.
Which, by the way, is the same thing that Boomerang says, more or less. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
a lot of crawling back from hell going on.
He calls himself the Revenge Sword or something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something stupid. So the weekend, Siegfried launches the last desperate assault on the heroes, and though defeated in the end, the energy released in the battle destabilizes the portal. Narrowly escaping through the portal to Filgaia, the trio arrive at Kaldingle just as it collapsed, with Asgard arriving to shield them from the falling debris, but the sheer strain causing great damage to the Earth Golem, and so is later allowed to sleep once more beneath the earth with Cecilia's help.
They act like this is the big dramatic death of the game. And
Yeah.
I will say the music is really touching, but I'm like, I don't care at all.
Oh no, my car.
Yeah.
I have a
Shit, man.
spaceship. I have a ship. I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not touched at all. I was just like, okay, yada yada. Come on.
6 a.m. I've got to record in 2 minutes.
Yep. So with the demons defeated and nature beginning to recover, Jack and Rudy set off on a new journey, and Cecilia was supposed to remain in Adelheid and be the queen. But she ends up writing a letter, which basically is the entire ending. It's just them reading a letter. She tells them that she's going to send them an item that they forgot, and it's just her. That's the thing.
I really
She's the
hated this
item. I hated this entire ending. I think Scott mentioned this on the RPG Club. It's the same things over and over and over again. And it's like, oh yeah, you forgot your item. And they're like, what item did we forget? We didn't forget anything. Let's just go. And she pops around a tree and is like, guys, you forgot me. I'm the item. It's like, oh,
It's like she keeps
I
talking
forgot
about being a
Cecilia was
normal
such a dick.
girl now. And it's like, it's the longest letter of all time, but it's like nothing that's written actually makes much sense.
I like the fact that obviously Jack is illiterate.
Is
Yeah,
that-
makes
He always,
hand read
he
it.
always asks he makes Handpan read it.
yeah.
But he's always like, you read this. It's like, why are you making me read it? Just read it.
So
Don't talk about my
they're off
secret
on a new
handbag.
journey. Like Jay said, I did not like the ending at all. The music in it was
Just
good,
that last little
but
bit.
yeah,
It was
If they'd have
also-
ended it after the Earth Golem died, it would have been fine. But
It was-
it's just
it
that
was
whole bit of the letter
generally-
is just ridiculous.
it was kind of really cheesy too, because it was like, oh, they're on a walk and they're on a cliff now for some reason, and then they're staring out over the cliff, and then it backs out and it's over. It's like, well, none of this makes
Oh,
sense. This is
and
like
there's
the
like
most
no
staged
resolution.
ending.
There's no resolution for any of the side characters. Like you don't get any kind of resolution with Jane's love for Rudy or like what anybody
Yeah,
else is
I was so thrown off by that. It's like Jane was a pretty major character in a lot of this, with a lot of hinted development, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's
I think
it.
there's like one throwaway line in the letter where it's like, all our friends are going to work to bring back, stop the decay of the world or something like that.
And do my job because I want to go
Yeah.
dilly dally with you.
She leaves it to the minister.
Oh yeah, that's gonna turn out well.
He'll end up getting power hungry.
Okay, so
Into Wild Arms 2.
that's the story of Wild Arms. How did everybody feel about it in general?
I
You go
enjoyed
first,
it.
Bill.
I enjoyed it. I'll be honest with you. I kind of felt like it kind of, I mean, again, it wasn't a long game, so it kind of flowed nicely. It was only that part 2 I didn't really like of the RPG club. I just felt like that whole section was just dungeon.
Fetch quest, yeah.
But it wasn't I don't know. I just genuinely enjoyed it. But like Jay said quite a few times, there are just lots of points where you just have to be like, yeah, this is happening now. Rudy the robot. Why not?
Yeah.
It just kept throwing things at you, and I like that in a game because then it stops you thinking too much about it. You just let it be.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I didn't mind it. I thought overall, I thought this was a good game, and I would have really liked this game a lot more 12 years ago. I think, whenever I was, yeah. So I think it is, and not just because I think it aged terribly. It's just I think my attention span is a lot different than what it used to be, and I could not stand all of the like randomly introduced plot points, all the loose ends, all like the suspension of disbelief that I had to introduce. Like I felt like there were several times it was like, okay, I usually like a game that introduces the world concepts at the beginning. It sets the rules of the world at the beginning, so we know what to expect. We know what's real, what isn't.
In the library.
Yeah, that's another aspect. I don't want to have to search out the plot. I want to be told the story. I don't want to have to go search out the story.
I'm with you on that one.
So yeah, I feel like the game did a bad job of setting up its world, which created a lot of confusion for me. And I think I would have enjoyed it a lot better, not as an adult with a well-developed, super smart brain.
Right. For me, I agree with most of what you said, Jay. I'm kind of a little bit more in the middle though, because I feel like there is a good story in here somewhere.
Yeah. You gotta trim the edges. You gotta pick up the trash over here, throw it in the recycling.
I feel like if maybe they expanded on certain things a little bit, and I think whatever assuming it's a translation, like the translation is just awful. I felt like, not that there was a bunch of like typos or anything like that. It's just like the way it's written. It's almost like it was like a Google Translate type deal, because like a lot of the concepts just didn't come across for me, and it just felt like bad writing.
With how some of these plot points,
flair as well.
Yeah, with how some of these plot points were introduced, like randomly thrown at you, I feel like there has to be translation context missing and earlier parts of the story. Like maybe in the original language, or the original translation, the whole thing with Cecilia and the dreams and her love, like maybe her character build development up towards then was a little more fleshed out in the Japanese version.
Yeah, and the remake supposedly has like a pretty like expanded script, so I do wonder if it's how much better it is in that. Honestly, I would be up for a modern day remake of this game, because I'm sure it would be, unless they just totally botched it, like it would probably be awesome.
They'd botch it.
Probably.
Digimon Cyber Sleuth, come on.
Yeah, come on.
So that's a good point. I don't know how involved they are in Valkyria though, but those stories are pretty good, I feel. So, any other thoughts on the story before we go to the outro? All right, let me pull up our little musical transition here.
Asgard did his best, huh?
Not very hype for the podcast, but I did really find that track to be pretty beautiful. So
You can sleep now, Asgard. Your fighting's over.
there you go.
You did your best,
can-
huh?
You did your best. You
Best
can
wasn't
rest.
good enough. Actually, it was. So
Get up!
It was
Get up, you maggot!
just good enough.
Now I need a new car.
Right. So, guys, that is it for part 1 of the Wild Arms review. Scott, what are we doing next week?
well, Jay, next week will be part 2 of our Wild Arms review. It's going to be back to back this time on the review sections. And I'm happy to announce we will have a special guest. It's our listener and patron, Punch Drunk Dave, one of our favorites. So I'm excited to rap with him a little bit about this. I think he's more on the positive side for this game, so maybe it'll balance out Jay and I a little bit more.
I will try not to be too negative.
Right.
I'll try not to be too average.
Well, that's just how you are, my man. So do not forget to rate and review us on whatever you're listening to us with. Throw us a rate and a review.
Yeah, and you can be as cool as me if you join the Patreon. So we can get early episode access, ad-free episodes, aftercast, extra reviews, RPG Club. You can join in with the nominations and the voting for our next game, which will be after Neir, and much, much more. So yeah, come and visit us at the Patreon/RPG After Years.
Yep.
So one thing we are trying to do, we have been doing, just maybe not on the same day every single day. We are streaming every Sunday, usually around 9 a.m. Eastern. There are exceptions whenever we have some special reviews going on. So you can find that on twitch.tv/RPG After Years.
Another cool thing we have a merch store. It's on Redbubble. You can find that at redbubble.com/people/RPG After Years/explore. Or you could just search RPG After Years on there. I've got a tank top on right now. There's travel mugs. I needed this so it didn't make so much damn noise and my coffee didn't get cold while I'm recording. We've got coasters that are pretty banging. You can see I got a poster in the background. And that's not even all. So I am financially supporting this show single-handedly. No. But yeah,
That's
just,
about right.
He is really.
Search us out on Redbubble.
Him and Disa. So you can also reach us via email, rpgafteryears@gmail.com, if you want to throw us some comments, some feedback. Maybe you don't want to leave us a 1-star rating because you think that we can do better. Let us know in an email. We will get that, and we will generously provide or apply any feedback given to us.
And I've been wanting to say this for ages. We've got a banging Discord.
There you
It
go.
is really taking off over there.
It is on fire.
And other tropes of the Discord. Yes, but if you want to come and join us on Discord, it is really good on there at the moment. And the link can be found in the show notes below and on our pin notes on Twitter.
So to wrap it up, you can find all of us on Twitter at RPG After Years is the show. I am at JAYD Hizzle.
You can find me at the Scott Spot.
And you can find me at Metallica, METUNNICA. And what about Rich?
Hail Blue 1569.
6, 9, woo! You got it.
Nice.
All right. Well, we're making some progress on this review. So join us next time, partner, when we finish the review with Punch Drunk Dave, episode 39. Until then, I'm Jay.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Bill.
Bye.
Giddy up, partner.
Toodaloo.
Get out this rodeo. Yeehaw.
Ride 'em, cowboy.
Yippee-ki-yay.
those are some short shorts, man.
I'm into the short shorts these days. I'm trying to like embrace my gay side.